Teach me how to breastfeed. Teach me how to breastfeed. Teach me how to breastfeed. All the babies love it. All the babies love it. All the babies love it. You ain't messing with my breast milk. Teach me how to breastfeed. 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 All the babies love it. All the babies love it. All the babies love it. You ain't messing with my breast milk.
Welcome back, everybody, to this podcast episode of Spilled Milk in All Shades. I'm your host, Rakisha Williams, and I'm here with the lovely Denise Young.
Hey, everybody.
So today we're going to be chopping it up and talking about breastfeeding, as we always do, in honor of World Breastfeeding Month, and it is National Breastfeeding Week. So, Miss Denise, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Denise Young. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 4. One being an angel baby who I carry in my heart. I have 3 children. I have a 14-year-old daughter, a 4-year-old daughter I call her the boss, and a 1-year-old and a half-year-old son.
You got to give my baby his months now. Don't cut him short.
All of which who I have breastfed or are currently breastfeeding.
Right.
So I talk about me being a mother and a wife of 4 years. And I work in the, manufacturing industry as an apprentice for tool and die maker, and also at Milk Like Mine as a lactation counselor. So
basically, y'all, what she just said, she's a boss. All right, she's doing the work of many and plenty and mastering it all. So when I hear you talk about your work and your primary job, tell me what some of that entails.
So some of that entails work hours. So currently I'm on a third shift. So I'm at work anytime between 8:30 at night till 6:40 in the morning. But that can change rather quickly. Mm-hmm. So that entails me working with tool makers who are, senior tool makers, hand in hand, whether that is machining, just this block of steel that you see into a part to be able to make a car part. So I work in a foundry, and we make parts for the big 3, General Motors, Chrysler, Ford, also Honda. So more than likely, I am making a part of a car that you're driving.
All right, I feel it. Okay.
So that entails me, climbing the machines, doing repairs. I am also the only female apprentice and the actual first female apprentice at my location. So that's good, different, because you have some that kind of like, well, she should be a man and hold me to that standard. And then you have some that says, well, she's a girl, she shouldn't have to do that. But she's a girl, she can do this. So it's fun. And then they all know that I breastfeed. They knew coming into the gate that I breastfed, because I entered into that department from production right after having Benji, my 1-year-old. Okay. And so they were like, what? Okay, cool, fine.
All right. Well, so when I hear you talk about your work, and you said that you are currently breastfeeding, just to preface this a little bit, she's changing the game in the car making industry, and being seen as a woman able to do the work of men, and dealing with all the different things that people kind of lay on you as a label. She's breaking all of that. All right. So the barriers that women face in the workforce, she's a trailblazer in that. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing to trailblaze for mothers that are also breastfeeding just like you?
So it started with me breastfeeding or pumping in the locker room. My job didn't have a location to pump, and I was just like, I don't care. I'll pump in the locker room. You got to provide me a space. Although that's a new thing now, but I was going to do it. And so many of my coworkers were coming and was like, oh my God, you're pumping at work. And they were astonished of how consistent I was, and how I was like, no, this is going to happen regardless of where I work, what my work schedule is. And so that led from just conversations in the locker room to, oh, well, this person is pregnant and they want to breastfeed, but they don't know how, or they don't know the tools, or how does that work with coming back to work? How does that work out? And so, I would, hey, yeah, I can help you. And it started with just talking to somebody in the locker room, and then it was like, oh, well, this person over here. So then it was like, okay, a group of us will get together and talk about it. And it stemmed from that into even, getting phone calls like, hey, I'm at home, or my sister just had a baby and I need help. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm coming. Sure, fine. And I would gather the things that I would have at home. Because, I would have a lot of different things just for breastfeeding through the years. I had multiple pumps, and, I have my favorite pumps. So I have these extra pumps on the side that, let me take this out the closet. This is brand new. Let me take this over here, And so I was just sharing my own wealth of what I had. And it's a nice venture to be able to share my own personal experiences with other moms who are working.
All right. So if you guys haven't guessed, Miss Denise is a peer counselor. She works here at Milk Like Mine, and she's going through her CLC, and we know one day she'll achieve great heights as an IBCLC. We're going to make sure that girl gets down that path. Why don't you talk to me about you becoming a CLC? Actually, before that, you becoming a peer counselor when you were doing your training. Because this is dope, y'all. Wait till you hear her.
Okay, so becoming a peer counselor, it was approached to me by Barbie at the Calhoun County WIC office here in Battle Creek.
Shout out to Barbie.
Hey, Barbie. And she, there was some different studies that was going on about breastfeeding moms. And she was like, hey, there is this training for a peer counselor, and I think you would be good for doing it. And I was like, okay. And then I look at the dates, and I'm like, wait, I'm due around that time to have a baby, and I was already having a scheduled C-section due to other medical complications. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work. So they called me, and they're like, oh, well, it's during this time, and it's going to be virtual. I'm like, okay, virtual? I can handle virtual. But when I say virtual, I mean I was sitting in NICU still. The first day I was still as a admitted patient sitting in NICU with Benji, virtually taking training. And it was a 3-day training, so the next day I get discharged. And so I'm at home doing my training, and they're like, so everybody turn on their cameras. What are you doing? By this time, I've made it back to the hospital to go nurse Benji and take pumped express milk. And so I turn on my camera, and they're like, where are you at? I say, oh, I'm in NICU with my 1 week old. And so I did my training for my peer counselor virtually, online with, very just in the moment of this is what I want to do. I've already helped everybody else, so why not go ahead and get the certification?
Absolutely.
So it just kind of, went with the work that I was doing.
Absolutely. Her heart and her passion, we've been able to enjoy for quite some time now, long even before she even thought to train, through pregnancies, in the community. Denise has always been about it. So she's big on social media about her tandem nursing story. So talk to us about who you tandem nurse, how that's going, how long you've been doing it.
Yes.
And what's the surrounding story with why you wanted to do that?
Yeah, so tandem nursing is not for the weak. Let's be, let's be honest and just upfront for it.
Hold on. Can we preface that? Tandem nursing is what?
So tandem nursing is feeding 2 babies.
Okay.
Feeding 2 babies at once.
And or being pregnant.
Yes, being pregnant and still nursing. So sometimes that can be an older sibling and an infant. Sometimes that can be twins. And then other times is I'm still nursing, and I got another baby on the way. So I've experienced all of that. And so I had Emily, and I nursed Emily, and then in 2020, I was pregnant with Walker, my angel baby, and I was like, I'm still nursing Emily. Okay, whatever. I'm going to still nurse until because I am a very strong advocate of self-weaning, and so I'm going to nurse until she wants to wean. So with that, I nursed through pregnancy. I nursed through the recovery of coming home without Walker. And that, for me, was a large milestone, and grieving with that. Because even while in the hospital after having a C-section and, all the emotions is going on, I asked the nurse, can I have a pump? And she's like, you still want a pump? I'm like, yeah, can I have a pump? I still have a baby at home that I need to have milk for.
Yeah.
And so they were very adamant about helping me with that. And so, go home, and I'm still nursing, and then here comes Benji. So I nursed through pregnancy with Benji. And, you may hear stories of you shouldn't nurse while pregnant. It may cause preterm labor. it really is a case by case basis. That does not happen for everybody.
Yeah.
It's all medical, so you can't just be like, oh, well, I can't do this. You can't until doctors say, I need you to stop.
Right.
And so here comes Benji, and I was like, well, Emily, we're gonna start weaning, and she was like, no. No.
So let me just slide this in here. Emily is the boss.
The boss.
She is not boss baby. She is the boss, period. Whether the babies are here, the teenagers are here, she is the boss. And when I tell you she's going to be the biggest breastfeeding advocate that we see coming in the second generation of Milk Like Mine, she going to be it. And she going to have a good story to tell.
Yes, so she is now 4, and I am still nursing. And we tried weaning with her, and I just could not get with the crying and the screaming, and like it was just a heartbreak one. And so I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth the anxiety that I'm giving my daughter to make her wean. And so I was like, okay, we in it for the long haul. And so here I am nursing this 4-year-old. At the time, she was 2. So here I am nursing her and Walker infant as well. Well, Benji. His name is Benji Walker. He holds his brother's middle name. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. This is fine. And currently, still, now she's 4, Benji's 1.5, and I'm still nursing. Even this morning, after working 10 hours last night, first thing I come in the door, she says, Benji, mommy's home. Let's get milk. And, you know, I have a thing with her about you can't have your tablet in nursing. You can't have the phone in nursing because I believe that's a bonding moment. That's a sacred moment. And so we're not going to, you know, destroy that with social media and tablets
and your nipples aren't made of taffy. Like, ain't nobody got time to be trying to pull those things all over
and
the place.
So Benji has his tablet. She takes it. No, Benji. No milk in the tablet. Okay? No milk in the tablet. Because that was the thing that I had to teach her. No milk in the phone, Emily. Because she would bring the phone and prop it up on my chest. I'm like, no, we're not doing this. We're either going to nurse or
you're not
going to go
TV tray.
Right. We're going to do either or. And so I nurse both of them. You know, I nurse both of them before I go to work at night. And then that's the first thing when they come home. And, well, when I come home and I'm getting them ready for school in the morning, can we have milk? And Emily, she is so adamant about it. Well, can we have milk in the car? No, Mom, come sit in the chair. And she will clean the chair off. Let's have milk in the chair. Brother, come on, let's go get some milk.
And she's a team player. She really wasn't a team player to start off with. You know, that sharing thing really wasn't it for her. But she's a team player now. I hear her all the time. Come on, brother. Come on, brother. Oh, brother, it's time to switch. She will delegate the switching.
It's time to switch.
I love seeing you guys grow in the way that you have grown in your nursing relationship with them, and how you're such a great example to mothers that are really trying to do it. Talk to us about your excess milk, because you are what we call a super producer.
So excess milk, I am able to tandem feed 2 little human beings and still pump and have milk on the in the freezer.
Yeah.
My 2 little ones do not like milk in a cup, as Emily would say. No milk in a cup. So when I pump, I'm just storing it in the freezer. I do make sure I use it if they're sick. I won't give them any juice or anything. It's like, you're going to drink it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I have been able to help other moms, and you know, me being very like verbal and out there about breastfeeding on social media, people will tag me in a minute. This mom needs milk.
Yeah,
and I'm
this
like,
mom's struggling.
Okay,
help us out.
Call me. You know, send me a message. Come by. What you got? And so I'm grateful for that, because there was a time when I had Benji where I had to use donor milk because of medical conditions that I had right after labor that caused me to have my milk supply drop. And that was heart-wrenching. But if there wasn't a mom who was willing to donate her milk, I wouldn't have had it.
Yeah.
And so with me being able to, you know, produce all this milk, it's like, okay, I can help another baby.
You give back.
You know, it's a full circle. Like, I can help another baby. I would rather help another baby than, you know, sorry to all the formula-fed babies, than you to switch over to formula because you don't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I have enjoyed the most about being with Denise through much of her breastfeeding relationship, shortly after she had her son, we're in recovery, and it took me forever to get back into recovery with her. And the nurse was kind of giving her some guff. You know, shout out to the Bronsons. She
Yes.
delivered locally and in Kalamazoo. And they did pretty well. But there was one nurse in particular who was giving her some blowback about a little bit of everything. And, you know, she's kind of heavily dosed right after a C-section. You know, we'll talk about your C-section journey next month.
Yes.
But she said, well, I need a pump. And she was like, well, we have lactation here. She was like, no, bring me my doula. And they're like, no, you know, we're not supposed to have them back here yet. This is on the tail end of the COVID protocol, of course. And she's like, well, we got lactation on staff, because she's trying to tell her, you know, my doula is not just my doula. Just because this labor and delivery part is over with, the C-section's done, my doula still needs to be in here for my lactation part. And she told her, you know, we have lactation on staff. And then Denise goes, why would I need your lactation staff when I got my own?
No.
I mean, the clearest moment.
That's right, the clearest moment after all the medication.
You know, you think about people talking to you while you're medicated, and you're not really thinking about, you know, advocating for yourself, but she has an advocator spirit. So that's one of the things that I have loved about her. I call Denise my lactation lady in the field, because no matter who it is, where they are, what they're going through, she shows up. We run a tight ship over here. There's always somebody giving birth. There's always somebody in need. There's always a class being taught. So in moments where she's advocated to me to not try to be the bionic woman doing everything for everybody. She's like, girl, tell me where to go. Show me what you want me to do. Just let's do it. She's definitely a great teammate. Love having her on staff. Can you tell us, what is probably your wildest experience with being in the field and helping out with lactation?
My wildest experience would be being called to a house to help with a lactation. And so I get this phone call, and my client was here just like moments coming in from the Congo and had delivered. And I'm like, okay, late in the evening, I'll come, no problem. You know, I had already went to work at my primary job. I get the call, I go. And while I am there holding baby, because mom wanted to do something, I say, okay, I'll hold him. And I'm holding baby, getting baby snuggles. How about the sister goes into labor? And her sister goes into labor and was like, oh, no. We're not going to the hospital, because, you know, they're still getting accustomed to the Western medicine and things like that. And so she's like, no, I'm going to have a baby here. And, I mean, she squatted down, and in the next 10 minutes, we had a baby. And I had never delivered a baby
and
before.
Look, let me tell you. So let's include some context here. This was not like a planned thing.
No, not at all.
When she got there, sis was just kind of walking around and doing her thing, and she looked a little uncomfortable, but, you know, at the end stages of pregnancy, it's all uncomfortable. You're not really expecting to go into labor, but this was fast. There was not even moments. Denise called me, and she's like still shaking. You can tell on the phone. She's like, I told her, oh, well, you ready to have the baby? I can call, you know, and let them know. Let me get my shoes on, and I'll take you. And she's like, no. And they literally didn't have time for that either. That baby was coming.
That baby would have been in my car.
Yeah.
Baby came healthy, chunky baby. And that was my experience. Like, I was here for this. Oh my God, I was here for this. And, you know, it went smooth. I've never delivered a baby, especially not even at home, you know.
Yeah.
And so for it to go so smoothly, and then get invited back once I took her to the hospital and, you know, got them checked in, and being invited back to be, hey, could you help me with lactation as well? Yeah. Because breastfeeding is not something that is just natural. You know, you may have heard me say, oh, it just came to me naturally. It's not something you just do. It's you have to be taught, you know, what's proper latch.
It's work.
Some babies come out like, I'm hungry. Mine came out like little hungry monsters and latch right on. But there are some babies that need to be guided. There are some moms that need to be guided through that. And so that's where that lactation peer counselor and support comes in, where help guiding to that process and help getting you to where you would like to be with breastfeeding. And so, you know, with that experience, it was just like, okay, we push the baby out now. Let's help with this lactation.
Yeah. So I wanted to shine some light on something that you said, that it doesn't always come naturally. We know that it's the most natural thing to do, right? I put air quotes there because humans do a lot of things naturally. We walk naturally.
Right.
But in that, there was help, there was guiding, there was assistance. We don't have babies and they just get up within a few hours of being born and walk away, and then they fend for themselves. That's more animalistic. While we are all mammals, we are not all animals.
Right.
So us having to learn to walk on 2 feet, there's a whole process. You give birth, you're cradled for a period of time.
Right.
You crawl. Some of us bear crawl. Some of us army crawl.
Right.
Some of us skip the crawling process, but we won't go into that. But when the walking begins, what do you see? You see parents, and they're holding their fingers out, and they got the babies taking one step at a time before them. The baby gets comfortable, gains confidence, and then before you know it, pew, baby's out of there. Baby's walking quickly, and then they're running, right? I look at breastfeeding very much like it's that.
Yes,
It is a guiding process where some babies, when they're born, they latch right on and it's perfect. And then 3 days down the road, they're back home, and all of a sudden, mom's like, what is this?
Yeah.
What? Literally, I looked at my daughter and was like, why are you broken? Like, do you need to go back in? You had a little more time to go.
Right.
And I couldn't figure it out. We called her Chomper. Yep. That was a good name for her. My son gracefully breastfed. My daughter wanted to chew from the moment that she was born. As I got help, again, from Barbie from the WIC office, shout out to Barbie, I learned that this was just something that she was doing. She liked the idea of rubbing her gums back together. It was hard for me. I became a breastfeeding peer counselor that same year for the WIC office. And as I learned and started helping other mothers, it also aided me in my breastfeeding relationship with her. But I had to have that guidance, whereas the first time it came really natural to me. You would think, because I had already done it once for 10 months, that by the time I came on the second round, it should have been, and it was only 18 months apart.
Right.
It wasn't that long ago that I had already been breastfeeding, that I would have had it down, but I really struggled. And that's one of the things that I share with my moms when we're doing lactation. Like, I struggled, and I'm a professional. I struggled even while doing peer counseling.
Right.
I had to learn to pump. She would not take a bottle. She was like, no. So I had to leave at work and go breastfeed her there because she refused to take a bottle. So there's many aspects to breastfeeding or nursing that should feel natural, but you actually need a lot of help with.
Right.
Speaking of needing help, what was it like the very first time you breastfed? Because you have a teenager that you breastfed as well.
I was 24 when I had Morgan. And, I said I didn't know anybody that was breastfeeding. It wasn't talked about. I just wanted to do it. So I went to an appointment, and they were like, so do you plan on nursing or feeding? And I was like, well, I don't like the smell of formula. It smells awful. And so my doctor was a female doctor, and she's no longer here in town. She said, okay, we can do nursing. Do you want to go to a class? Do you want to? I said, sure, I'll go to class. So shout out to Bronson. I went to a birth and education class at Bronson for about 4 weeks. And I'm like, okay. They really didn't touch much on nursing. But, it was a hit or miss, because they had to try to cram everything into this 4 weeks plus Lamaze and how labor would be. So I had a C-section with her. And they lay her on my chest. As soon as they lay her on my chest, her head just goes to bobbing and weaving, like, oh, wait, I smell it, and she latches right on.
All right.
And so the next morning, later that morning, because I had her at 5 in the morning, later that morning, lactation comes in, and she's like, and I'm nursing, sitting up nursing, and she's like, oh, she's already latched on, she's doing good. You don't need my help. I was like, well, I've never done this before, so, and she, gave me a few pointers, and she was like, but you're doing fine. Yeah. You're good. And so for me it was like, okay, but I still needed that reassurance.
Yeah. I was just getting ready to ask you.
I didn't have any information on it. You know, we had internet back in 2009, but it wasn't like our phones are now.
Right.
Hey Google, and it started talking to you. So that reassurance from the lactation counselor was in the hospital was very needed. And then to be able to get it at the WIC office.
Yeah.
So I would go to my WIC appointment, and Barbie would say, okay, how are you going with this? How are you doing? What are some of these? And then I'm like, well, she was sick after I ate this. And she's like, okay, so we know that item you can't really eat, or you're going to have to express because baby's not liking it and making her tummy hurt. And so that's when I had to learn. It was like being taught, here I am 24 years old. I've had a baby, but I really don't know this world. I really don't know this side of the world. And so being taught, and it was like, okay, I can do this. And then you're hearing, from family members, well, she's walking and she's talking now and she has teeth. And I'm like,
so let's break through that. Let's break through that, because I think that women are some of the most judged creatures on earth, right?
They're very judged and judgmental at times.
Yes, this is very true. Very catty by nature to some degree, right?
Yes.
Talk to me about how you felt. I remember when I was breastfeeding my son, and I always felt like I needed to cover up. Yes. I don't know where that initial you need to cover up feeling came from, but I remember being around my ex-in-laws, and I was just weirded out by them being in the room and watching, honestly. Yes. But then I found, like, at the restaurant, I was like, oh, let me cover up real quick. And my son was like, no ma'am, no ham, no jam, no turkey. Right. Take this thing up off my head. He was very claustrophobic, and he's autistic, so there was components to the way that he nursed that I didn't understand then, that I know now why he was the way he was.
Right.
Sounds like the flushing of toilets when I didn't really have a good place to breastfeed him and I was in a bathroom, or when the fabric would touch his face a certain way and he would freak out. I now understand that was a part of his autistic characteristics, but it was in infancy, which they don't have many studies on that for things that you should be looking for. So talk to me about how you felt when people would pass those kinds of judgments on you, especially with your children being nursing until they're much older.
Yes, so I got it more so a lot from, like, family members. And I would say uneducated family members, because when I think back, now that they have children, they've breastfed. They seen me breastfeed, and then they breastfed. And so I was like, okay, I was the limelight over here.
Yeah,
but,
trailblazing.
For me, it was kind of like, well, she's talking and she's crawling and she's eating food, and I'm like, but I still make milk.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
But I mean, she still wants to nurse. And I can remember an incident coming from, like, a family gathering, coming in the house, and I was, back home visiting in the Detroit area, and she come in the house and she would say boob. That was her thing. Boob. Mom, boob. And I was like, okay. And so I nursed her. Why are you nursing her? And she's already 2 years old and she's talking. And I'm like, and it made me feel so uncomfortable, because I felt like I should have been maybe, supported. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
You wish you had a you.
Right. And so I was very, nursing and breastfeeding at 24 years. I was very, like, shy about it, where I didn't want to nurse in public. I didn't want people to say anything, or I didn't want the stares or the comments. Yeah. And then you fast forward 10 years later, because, yes, I have a 10-year gap. You fast forward 10 years later, here we are in 2019, and I'm like, I ain't covering up if I don't want to. The only place I would cover up would be, like, if I had to nurse in church. Yeah. And that was more so because of a sacred, space,
atmosphere,
being a sanctuary and stuff like that. And even then, I had someone who was like, well, you shouldn't nurse at church. And I just kind of gave this look like, hey, you shouldn't even be talking to me.
Right. But, babies don't really have a, oh, we at church, so I'm not hungry kind of a mentality.
Right. And so I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm going to do me and keep going. And so, now that's more so reason why I'm more a larger advocate, because the younger me was so shy about it and so timid about it.
Absolutely.
Now it's like, you eat, right?
Right.
So my baby gonna eat. You pulled up to the table, with your spread, so guess what? I'm gonna eat and I'm gonna give a spread.
I remember saying stuff like, so let me throw a blanket over your head while you eat and see how well you do.
Take your plate to the bathroom and go eat.
Yeah. Why don't you go sit in there after Uncle so-and-so then came up out of the bathroom and see how well you eat?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's very different, because we know that in breastfeeding we are also bonding.
Yes.
and that's a sacred time between you and your baby or your babies.
Yes.
Right? When we talk about the way that daddies bond, talk about my brother.
So bonding for dads, you get that question, well, if she's breastfeeding, how am I going to be able to help feed the baby or help do this? Feeding mama helps feed the baby. let me talk about my husband, the Chef Benny.
And look, shout out to Chef Benny, man.
I even still now, he cooks breakfast. He would, after labor and delivery and, in the recovery, he would bring my food to the bedroom so I wouldn't have to go do anything. He would make sure that, okay, I know you go nurse through the night, so I'll make sure you got your cup of water on the bed or on the side table, or I'll make sure you have something to drink, or I'll make sure you have a snack. Because, yes, when you're nursing, drinking and hydration is key.
Yeah.
And even through the night, I would wake up and like, oh, my God, I'm so tired, or oh, my God, I'm so drained. And that's because I just pumped out all these calories.
Yep, 500 calories a day or more because she's a super producer. So
and so he makes sure still to this day that, okay, you've been nursing, you ain't drank no water, you haven't eaten enough. Here, let me go fix you something to eat to make sure. I can say I can wake up drained. He's like, yeah, they've been nursing all night. I heard you. And them nursing. So just give yourself a minute, Yeah. And having that support from your spouse means the world versus him just sitting over there playing a video game or folding his arms. I can't do. There's a lot that you can do. Allowing mom to sleep, and we had a big thing of, let me know if you want me to wake you up. Or should I just go get a bag of milk out the freezer and unthaw it? And I would let him know, hey, I'm going to take a nap, but you can wake me up. Or I really need to sleep, so go ahead and feed the baby some milk out the freezer.
Okay.
And so having that communication was key, and that's how he helped me tremendously.
What is his relationship like with the kids?
Oh, that's their best friend. That's their playmate. I'm mom, I'm the nurturer, and I'll play sometimes, but that is their playmate. That's dad, Daddy, we're gonna get some milk. You gonna cook? Like go.
That's
go
the boss,
cook.
baby.
Go cook for us. We gonna drink some milk, or just seeing them play and do different things is outstanding.
So you wouldn't say that breastfeeding took away from their relationship?
No, not at all.
And especially hearing what Emily says, that we're gonna nurse. Are you gonna cook? She equates that to him being involved in the way that he nurtures you guys, and that's beautiful. If you had advice to give to other fathers in the way that they could help, what would you say?
One, supporting and being graceful. Because it is a lot of work to nurse.
It's a demand.
It is. Yeah. You see all these pictures and you're like, oh my God. But if I'm very transparent, and it takes a lot, you're feeding on demand. So you might want to go do something, but baby like, no, I need some milk. I can remember days like, did I shower today? Did I do this today? And so having, a father there or a spouse there saying, hey, why don't you take this minute for yourself? Here, I'll go package the milk up. But you have to make sure you include them. You can't exclude them.
Yeah.
I showed Benny how to hook up the breast pump and how I was labeling the milk to store it and what was the best ways of storing it. And that helped because I would pump and he would go, okay, I'll go put it away, or I'll go wash all the components of the breast pump. And there's multiple ways you can help.
Absolutely.
And so, sometimes it's just I'm nursing, but I'm trying to eat too because I was eating dinner and now baby wants to nurse. He would be like, okay, I'll feed you.
Yeah.
That's helping.
Yeah.
That is helping tremendously.
Absolutely.
You may not look at it like that, but that is helping, where it's like, because there's sometimes you're like, I can never get to eat. And I remember saying that one time, like, I never get a chance to eat when everybody else is eating. Because now it was more so Emily. Now she wants to eat too, and now she wants to nurse. And so he was like, okay. I'll feed you.
Right.
All right. But if I didn't verbalize that and say that, he would not have
because
known.
they are not mind readers.
Not at all.
Effective communication bridges the gap in so many aspects
Yes.
of co-parenting, relationships in general,
Yes.
and raising children. I often tell my clients, I tell the dad, hey, if she's getting up in the middle of the night, don't make this a one-man show.
Right.
Get up with her.
Right.
Wrap her in your arms while she's wrapping the baby in her arms. And I had one dad who literally would get behind her and hold her arms up. So I'm like, okay, let me get your bobby pillow. We're going to get you all set up. He was like, no. And he got behind her and he lifted them arms. I was like, look at the strength of a father. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But it was such a beautiful picture that it couldn't have gone better if I had painted it. I mean,
Right.
I'm not a great painter or anything like that. But that was a moment that is forever embedded in my mind because it embodied the level of support that all
Right.
moms need. And this
Right.
was a late night. Look, let me tell you about lactation professionals. If they are used to doing home visits, them late night calls, we are often right there. So this was a late night visit. And he was just like, look, I don't often know what to do,
Right.
but this is what I know how to do.
Right.
You know, he was like, I held her like this her whole pregnancy when she would get up and she'd be uncomfortable. So it just makes sense for me to do it now.
Right.
You know, now the baby feels both of us. And I thought that was beautiful because
Yes.
babies, they function on smell, not necessarily sight in those early weeks.
That's
so,
right.
you know, baby being able to smell and hear the father around, that baby got used to that.
Mm-hmm.
It does become difficult when daddy goes back to work or
Yes.
he's not there because they're like, oh, where's my daddy?
Yes.
This is a team
Yes.
effort.
Yes.
But making the mother feel like it's a team effort will go far for you in the relationship as well. And most of the dads that have had mothers that have breastfed for a long term, they talk about the wonders of the bonding relationship that they have with the child. So we say that to say the mother breastfeeding does not take away from the father's relationship with the child. It's just an alternate course on how to bond right away.
Right.
One thing that I don't think any of us utilize enough with the babies, everybody wants to do skin to skin as soon as the baby's born, right? But sometime after we get home, skin to skin kind of fades away. Okay, I'm picking the baby up, I'm pulling out the boob and we putting the baby to the boob there.
Mm-hmm.
But most babies that are really anxious or they're hard to latch or something to that degree, when you have some type of challenge happening, they settle down when they get skin to skin.
Right.
I had one dad, he was like, look, okay, you need a break, the baby needs a break.
Right.
We was having a frustrated feed. And this man whipped off his shirt and put the baby up there and just walked
Right.
around with that baby skin to skin. That baby calmed right down. She pulled her shirt down to where it was more around her belly, and then she laid the baby skin to skin.
Yep.
And then we were able to get the baby to latch. Now, mom had some challenges with flat nipples, so it was harder to get that baby to latch. We weren't using nipple shields. We weren't using any other tricks to try to make it happen immediately. She was really adamant about helping the baby latch onto her natural breast.
Right.
And so there are so many different aspects of things that can make your breastfeeding relationship successful, even if it starts out with challenges. But of course, reach out and ask for help.
Right.
Milk Like Mine, we have a 24-hour line, 269-280-2669. We answer at 3 o'clock in the morning. By we, I mean me. But we'll get somebody to you when you need it. You know, it's really, there's beauty in what we do. And for the most part, the reason I got into this work is because I needed a me.
Right.
Although I had been married at the time, I was going through a divorce, so I needed somebody for lots of different things.
Right.
The postpartum depression, the lactation, the all of the things. So doing the work that we do now kind of gives back to my younger self.
Right.
Gives back to that young woman that needed some healing and needed some help. And so we are always willing, if we don't have the resources for it, honey, we will find it, right?
So we're going to get it.
Yeah, we're going to get it. So talk to me about when you are trying to do both jobs, because that's tiring.
It is tiring, because you go from, being at a physically demanding environment to being at an emotional demanding environment. Because it is high emotions when you walk in and mom feeling defeated because she has the goal and wants to nurse, and it's not going the way she thought it would go. And then baby's crying because they're hungry, and you've given them a bottle now, or they got a bottle at the hospital, and the bottle, basically when you tip it upside down, it drips out. And now they have to work to suck, to drink the milk out. So now they're frustrated. So the whole situation is frustrating. So you have to, step back and get back into it. So it is very demanding. And there are days where you have to be like, okay, let me take a minute to myself, or okay, let me sit in the car and gather myself together. And that is okay. When you don't do it is when it becomes not okay. And that is okay. But I count it a privilege to be able to help somebody else. Because I'm kind of old school, young, living in an old school body, where you reach back and help, and that it takes a village. Because I can remember growing up, and I had all these aunties and uncles and older people looking out on my block and in school and different things like that. And so I wanted to make sure I lived to the standard that they exemplified and that they showed an example for in front of me. And so me working both demanding positions, it can be tiring at times, but I find it very rewarding. To be able to have that mom text me back like, oh, I was able to pump, or oh, I was able to get baby to latch, and we weren't crying all night. And so that is rewarding. Or even just being able to make sure that another baby has milk.
And it don't stop there for her, y'all. She training as a doula. I think when she did that accidental at home birth, she's like, look, I can do this too.
I can do this. But it also takes my family being supportive. It takes my family being supportive, because I have a very supportive husband, and I have a very supportive mother-in-law. Like, my kids are with my mother-in-law right now while husband's at bowling league. And so, I'll leave here and go to work tonight still. And so, having that support to be able to say, go out there and get it done. You got it. We got you back here. It helps with the work of working two jobs and having both.
Beautiful. What's your favorite thing about being here at Milk Like Mine?
It is having, I'm gonna equate it to an octopus. So you have the head and you have all these tentacles or whatever. The head controls what goes on. So the center is that one-stop hub where you can get everything that you need. And having other individuals with different skill sets and different talents and desires to be able to do the work, but all for the work of one common goal. And I like that, because what I may be good at, this person over here may not be good at. Or I might need to be able to come over to this person and ask for help because I don't know. So having that here to say, hey, I have this client that's doing this and I need help over here. Or, hey, I know someone who needs a doula, so I need you to handle that. Or, I know a mom that's going through postpartum depression, so could you handle that? I mean, I've been through postpartum depression on 2 occasions. And I would actually say 3 because I didn't know that's what I was experiencing with Morgan. But because I didn't know, I was not, going to be like, that's what it is. No. And so having someone that can handle that, although you have experience, now you have someone that can really dig deep into that. And so just having that whole experience of being able to help everybody and help just that one common goal. I like, and I like the sisterhood as well. So.
Well, we've certainly enjoyed having you here and watching you grow your babies and feed them and nourish them and being able to shine in all the aspects that you are great. The one thing that I want to continue to say to you is never let nobody put restraints on you or put boundaries around you. You keep leaping over them barriers and the challenges that life brings your way, because you're absolutely doing an amazing job, and I know that you'll continue to. We love and support you 100%, and we thank you for coming out today. If you are looking for help with lactation, or you need to talk with someone about some of the challenges you're having, if you need a birth doula, if you need a postpartum doula, if you're struggling with postpartum depression, please give us a call at 269-280-2669 or 269-234-5908. We are located at 223 East Roosevelt Avenue. All of the services that we provide are free. But we do take donations.
Yes.
So if you type in https:// givebutter, that's givebutter as one word, .com/milk like mine services, all one word, then you will be brought to our fundraiser site where you can make a donation, and we'd appreciate any of that because, of course, while the services are free, we provide things, tandem things that you need for different aspects of motherhood and parenthood. So any donation helps. All right, we're going to sign it off with Teach Me How to Breastfeed. Catch y'all later.
Teach me how to breastfeed. 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 All the babies love it. All the babies love it. All the babies love it. You ain't messing with my breast milk. Teach me how to breastfeed. Teach me